Genie is a magic spirit believed to take human form and serve the person who calls it, being able to grant wishes when summoned. We all have Genie inside of us, capable of reaching our full potential and fulfilling our dreams and goals. Most of us are just unaware of this infinite potential we have. Join me, Jackie Carroll, on the journey of finding your Genie and getting to live your best life. Hi everyone, welcome to Finding Your Genie, the program that shows you how to reach your goals, manage your emotions, and have the life you want. I'm Jackie Carroll, founder of GEA International, a company that creates a virtual reality platform, Mind Immersion, which helps you step into the best version of yourself. Today, we're talking with Sharon Ledwith from Ledwith Wellness. Sharon, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jackie. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So Sharon, the reason why I wanted you to jump on, we have been long-time friends and been in the personal development for many, many years together. I think we have shared some amazing highs and lows, but since about 2018, I think you started, I know that you've been doing therapy healing and you've done a lot of meditation. And I think from about 2018, you decided to specialize in hypnosis. So for me, that's really interesting because a lot of people, I think they confuse meditation with hypnosis and maybe what is meditation right for me? Is hypnosis right for me? And I think some people are pretty scared of hypnosis as well because they feel that people are going to take control of their mind and do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the world of hypnosis and into kind of maybe what you do with your clients and stuff like that. And maybe just share with people that, how safe hypnosis is or isn't. But to start us off, tell us a bit about you, a little bit about the background so people kind of get a feel for who Sharon is.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so thanks a million. So I kind of stepped into the self-development world in around 2015, 2016. And meditation was a huge part. It was a huge part because I would have suffered from depression, suicidal tendencies, and suicide attempts. So for my personal development, for my healing journey, meditation was something that I used, to relax my mind. And it created loads of, change for me. And then I stepped into energy work. So, I suppose all of it really has come along to then a lot of change had happened for me. And I opened my holistic clinic in 2016. Where I did energy work for people, and I held and facilitated meditation workshops and groups for people, and I could see the change in them as well. I could see them all changing, and it took time. But then in 2018, I suppose the journey with me and you as well, I was always kind of searching, how can I make it better? What change can happen for people? And I wasn't looking for a quick fix for them, but I was looking for something that, could make change forever, to really, really help them get from the space where I was to, where I ended up in a great space a little bit quicker than I did, because I went on a journey of 14 years. Now, I know that, and I believe, that was my journey and I needed to be on that journey for 14 years, but I don't believe that everybody else has to. I believe that people now that I meet, wherever they are in their journey, that, I can help them create that change just a little bit quicker, the understanding and the awareness. So in 2018, I stepped into hypnosis like that, very, very interested in the mind, and how it was creating change quite rapidly for people. So then COVID came, so kind of puts the in-house training kind of off a little bit. So we were doing a lot of work in the background, online. And then when it came back in 2020, we went back in-house and we were working. And I suppose just the changes I seen in myself, using hypnotherapy, and then the changes I seen in others when we were in there, it was huge, and it was quite quick. And, that's then when I said, okay, this is definitely, with having the energy work, and understanding, this is something that I'm definitely going to delve into a little deeper.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, it sounds like I think a lot of people have who've come to you have had some great successes. So if you want to tell for the guys who are listening, the audience here, a little bit about hypnosis and maybe how it works.
Yeah. So hypnosis, again, is, when you said there earlier that people like, is hypnosis meditation and all of these things. Now there's similarities. There's similarities with, where we get into, both are kind of, in a trance state. So we get into a really relaxed state, which again changes the brain patterns. But the thing about hypnosis is, and the huge difference is that you need a therapist to work with you. And that's where the change is created, because, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. But when you have a therapist there who can, delve that little bit deeper in, again, use suggestions, your own subconscious mind suggestions to create that change. That's, where the huge difference is. And I suppose I could, even for myself, before stepping into it in 2018, when you see people up and you see them barking like a dog and, becoming a chicken live on stage, like, of course you're going to get that. And actually, even through history, thousands of years old, and a German doctor, Franz Mesmer, he was actually the father of it. He had, again, used magnets that passed over the body to induce a hypnotic state that created and released blocks for people. So that's what happened. And then when he passed away, then Dr. Elmo Kudos, he came, and he was a believer of autosuggestion. So again, we see with affirmations and, sometimes again, even in meditation, where we use the same things over and over again to create change. So he would have been autosuggestion. And then hypnosis kind of declined. And then, of course, all the stage hypnosis kind of came in. So people kind of didn't really become, it kind of became a show then. So some people lost belief in it. Okay. And actually, about the therapy side of things, this, with Franz Mesmer, when he was using magnets, to create that change and release the blocks for people, that's how they were changing. So then it wasn't until World War II then when it came back, and they started using it then in dentistries, for fears, for phobias and all of these things. And they started creating change for pain management for people. So that's then when it kind of came back in on the therapeutic side of things. So this is where we go with, hypnotherapy, being that when there is a therapist there who can guide you into bringing up some of those unconscious parts of you that we're holding.
Okay. So if I was to come to you, Sharon, and you were to take me through a hypnotherapy session, talk me through kind of what that would look like. So I'd come into you and I'd say, okay, Sharon, I'm dealing with, I don't know, let's say I've got a fear of flying, for example, and I'd really love hypnosis to maybe try and see if it can help, because I love traveling, but that this is stopping me from traveling. So I would come to you, I'd come into your therapy, or I'd come to you online maybe, and then you kind of, what is it? Do you put like a chant music on, or how does it work? So talk me through the steps.
Yeah, so hypnotherapy, first of all, there's a consultation to see, because we don't work with psychosis and we don't work certain things. So there's a consultation to see where you're at. And then once I can work with you, and again, all hypnosis, the person has to want the change. So anybody can be hypnotized as long as they want to. Let's say Jackie, somebody rang and said, "Oh, Sharon, will you hypnotize Jackie for me? I want Jackie to change." Unless Jackie wants to change, it's not going to happen. So the person has to want the change, and has to be the person who's coming to say, "I want this change." So we'll do a consultation, and then we'll come in, and yes, there's soft music in the background, but I lead you into an induction. So, when I lead a person into induction, first of all, I do a couple of suggestibility tests just to see. So there's a suggestibility test with 2 magnets on the top of your fingers, and we draw them together. So we do a couple of suggestibility tests just to see, again, how suggestible you are. And then you would go into an induction. So either on a chair or you would lie in a bed. Soft music in the background, but it would be really focusing on my voice. So my voice will guide you. My voice will empower you. And I will take them then, more often than not, because of the holistic side of things that I'm in, I would take people into a muscle relaxation progression, where I'm really talking the body down, and they're relaxing there and then. So you'll hear my voice. It's not sleep. So they never sleep. They're fully aware. They're fully alert all the time. So we can come out of it if we need to in any moment. So there's no sleep in it. It's just a really, really relaxing state. And then when we bypass the conscious critical faculties, so we've got the conscious mind and we've got the subconscious mind. And when I know that somebody, so I'll take them into an induction to bring them down nice and lightly into relaxation. And then I will take them into a deepener. So the deepener then is, where I look for signs in the body, maybe flittering of the eyes, maybe the breath relaxing the heart. You can use a biofeeder meter as well to see where the heart rate is at that stage, and then I'll know that they're in a deep trance. So we go into a trance-like state, not sleep, into a trance-like state. And so we've got the conscious mind and we've got the subconscious mind. So when I bring them into a deepener, what we're doing, and then around them we have the barrier called the conscious critical faculty. And the conscious critical faculty is where all the thoughts are filtered through every day. So if they're familiar, the subconscious will say, come on in. If they're not familiar, it'll say, no, you're not coming in now today, because that might create change. And if it's not familiar, I always use the analogy for my clients as it's nearly like bouncers at the door of a pub or, a restaurant or somewhere that says, if they don't like the look of you or you're not familiar to them, you're not coming in. Or if they think you're going to create havoc with how safe you're feeling now for years in here, then they'll say, bye-bye, see you later.
Okay.
So when you go into that deeper state of hypnosis, when you're in that deep trance, the conscious critical faculty drops. So then after our consultation, I will ask you all we'll go through what's kind of going on in your life, what it is that you want, why now, why do you want the change now? Then you said, I want to go on holidays, but so we'll ask that and say, well, what would you like? And you'll use your own. So I'll be taking notes and I'll write down all the words that you're saying. So literally all I'm doing then, when the conscious critical faculty is dropped, I'm imprinting your words. So I'm making the suggestions, for the change, that this is now, what's going to happen. Now, I use parts therapy, and parts therapy is where I bring you in and I talk to your unconscious mind, and I'll ask that part. I'll ask, if there's a part or parts that is protecting you, because that's really what the unconscious mind does. It protects us, and it says, oh, well, I like this feeling now, even though sometimes it's not a great feeling. So I'll talk to that part. I'll thank it for protecting you for so long. And these are the words I use. I say, thank you so much for communicating with me. And it's used through triggers through the fingers. So when I'm connected with your unconscious mind, your finger will move and I will thank that part. And then I'll ask that part, I'll say, can I have one new, I'll talk, to the creative, powerful part of you, of that part. And I'll say, can you give me one new healthy behavior? Again, in the same, instead of the same positive intention, because your unconscious mind thinks it is a positive intention, that it's throwing out anxiety or any of these kind of feelings out to you. So that's then when I create the change. And then I'll thank that part for communicating. And I'll always, and this is my first, for every person that comes to me, I do this at the first session. So I'll ask that part then, is there any objections to any other part creating these new changes? Sometimes I have three objections. Sometimes I have no objections. So if I have no objections, then I know I can continue on and put in the suggestions. If I do have objections, I'll thank those objections. I'll get the two parts to work together where there can be no objection. And then we'll do the suggestions. So we create the change. So so let's say with fear of flying, it could be something at a time that, somebody had to go into survival a long time ago, and now it's just manifested into flying. It's a fear of maybe small spaces, or it's a fear of, for one person, it wasn't actually the airplane, it was actually going too high. So it was actually the fear of the flight or the height rather than actually the fear of flying. It was, they were fine until the plane got up to a certain level over the clouds. And then it was like, I'm losing control. I'm not safe. So we talked to that part. We thanked that part for keeping that person safe. And then we created a new change. So I actually only got a message from that person the other day and just said, had a great flight, Sharon.
That's brilliant. So there's more people like me. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can create that change. But I suppose for me as well, down the therapeutic side of things, the holistic side of things, I actually did have one person for a flight But because of the other therapies, because of the energy work, I kind of knew they were a bit blocked. So I kind of delved into it a little bit deeper and actually found out that this person had just been kicking a can down the road for 15 years. It was actually a panic attack that had happened 15 years ago, and that had manifested its way now into just, oh no, it's flight. But actually it was 15. So on that session, I released that. I thanked that part, for keeping that person safe for 15 years. And then really had to thank the unconscious mind, and then made the change. And actually the person didn't need, in that moment, the person didn't even need the flight hypnotherapy recording. They just changed because the understanding of, again, why they were doing what they were doing. Because the unconscious mind was trying to keep them safe for so long.
That's really interesting. So there could be always like an underlying factor, and it's not just the thing that you might think it is, but there could be something. And that's really, really interesting. So that kind of comes into the point then, to me, hypnosis seems to be, it's much, much more involved than what I think people think it might be. And I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between, let's say, hypnosis and meditation. So I know you were talking about taking, meditation back with them. So what is the difference then between hypnosis and meditation? If people are going, well, why wouldn't I just do like a meditation for not, being scared to fly? What would the difference be?
I believe it's that understanding through having a therapist there. So again, even for me, for years, I definitely created change using meditation, because I would listen to it all the time. It brought me really into a relaxed space in my own body and myself, and it created change over time. And that was a good space of time. Whereas hypnotherapy, you have that consultation with a therapist there who helps you understand, and then guides you in that way for change. And I suppose with the meditation as well, and I know there is, affirmations, we can have meditations, but affirmations and everything like that. In my experience and through doing both of them, the meditation for me doesn't get us bypass the conscious critical faculty.
Okay.
So the auto-suggestion. So when we get to that deep level of hypnosis, and when we bypass the conscious critical faculty, by that time we're probably in deep trance ourselves. We're in deep trance ourselves. So having that suggestion imprinted by a therapist is powerful. Now I can record, and you could, you can do self-hypnosis, so you can record. Now I would do a recording of bringing myself in an induction into a trance, and then put in the words. So, but I listen to that, but it's getting me into that space, and it's dropping the conscious critical faculty, where suggestion then is, where change can happen then.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody somebody who doesn't understand hypnosis, who hasn't studied and obviously gotten the qualifications you have, would be able to put themselves into a hypnosis. I think you actually need like a proper qualified therapist to take
you would, hypnosis. Yeah. And they would. Yeah. So yeah. I would definitely, with all my clients, I show them how to self-hypnose, and I would give them a recording. So everybody gets a recording. So that would be bringing them in. But I would show them, because again, I suppose, with me, it was always that thing of searching, what can I do to give something to somebody that they can empower themselves? Yeah. So definitely you would have to go for hypnotherapy. You would have to go to a hypnotherapist to understand it, to get the understanding around it, and then allow them to empower you to hypnotize yourself. And there's loads of recordings and stuff online as well. But when it's your unconscious thoughts, when it comes from your mouth, your words, and that's why I'm always, the questions that I ask people in therapy, I'm always guiding them, to find out more, and tell me what that feels like, and tell me what that looks like, and how would you be when, again, even with the weight loss, tell me what you look like at 9 stone 11, like what's 9 stone 11. So then they're going to bed and they're listening to this, and it's just like, they wake up in the morning, especially for the junk food one is quite popular. And, I had an orange with my tea, Sharon. Never did I have an orange with my tea before.
That's really good.
So make that changes.
Okay. So would you say that there's different levels of hypnosis then?
Yeah, so that's why the induction and the deepener come. So there's 3 stages. So there's absorbed attention. So that's where I would bring them to focus on my voice, and my voice will guide them, and my voice will empower them. And then I bring them into the muscle relaxation. So they're absorbing that attention of their inwards, of their body, the inside. And then stage 2 then is bypassing the conscious critical faculty. So we bypass the conscious critical faculty. We let that drop where suggestion then can go in more easily. So we're not deflecting it. It's like there was a good analogy of the conscious critical faculty that said it was like a firewall. So any new suggestion, like I'm going to lose a stone now, it'll be burned before it even comes in. It might let you have it for 2 days, and then the next minute it'll go up in flames because there's an old pattern there, and it's not safe. It's not safe to go on a diet. It's not safe, to eat healthy because I remember these old feelings, and let's burn that thought. And every single thought that we have goes through the conscious critical faculty. When we're very conscious, it'll filter it. If I like it, and that's why negativity sometimes, people say, oh my God, I'm trying to be positive, but I just keep going back to the
thoughts.
Yes, yeah. And that's why, because it's familiar. Okay. And the conscious critical faculty loves familiarity. So it says, this is safe for me. Come on in.
Your old comfort zone, isn't it?
Step back into your comfort zone. Yeah. And that's where the patterns, that's where the old cycles, the old behaviors, the old patterns. And that's what I do, when I'm doing the parts therapy. I say to it, I thank the part, and I say, these old thoughts, these old behaviors, these old feelings, and the old choices, while I have that conscious critical faculty down, I'm going to go all in, and say, thanks for all of these, but no thanks anymore, I don't
need them anymore. Yeah.
I don't need them anymore. Yeah.
So when would you oh, sorry, go on.
So then you have stage 3, and that's activate on the unconscious response. So that's when then I say, I'm now talking to your unconscious mind. When your unconscious mind, you just have a sense of that. And when your unconscious mind is ready, it can indicate by moving any finger in your left hand. And then you'll see these muscle reactions, or your finger will move. And it's amazing to watch, really. And then you go into stage 4, and that's leading the unconscious mind to the deserved outcome. So that's then that I will put in the suggestions that they have said, flip them, because usually people tell me negative things about themselves. So what I'll do is I'll flip them then to be the positive, what they actually want. Okay. And that's then I will bring them back up out of trance then at the end, and say that, as you sleep and as you dream and as you wake up, you change. And all the positive suggestions, which are really your own conscious mind suggestions, will reinforce again and again and again. So as you sleep and as you dream, you change. So it's quite... Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty powerful. Hey, really powerful. Sure. So when would you recommend someone to use hypnosis rather than to just use meditation? Like if they were to go off and just, because obviously meditation is brilliant. Like I love meditation as a daily practice. But if somebody came in, how would you recommend to say, no, look, we really feel that hypnosis would be better for you rather than just doing meditation?
Yeah, so I would always, again, look at meditation for daily practice, absolutely, for, calming the mind and being still. But what I would say is, if there's a pattern, if there's a cycle, if there's an old behavior that you recognize you really want to change, then I would recommend hypnotherapy. Okay. I would recommend hypnotherapy to create that change, to make sure that, and again, for me, it is create that change forever. To create that change forever by changing the thought patterns around it. But again, if I brought somebody, which I have so many times, if I've brought someone to where they want to be, then I will give them, meditation links. I will, again, I still have my own meditation group on a Thursday night, but they're all people that I've healed. They're all people, again, that have created a lot of change in their life and now just want that nice... stability, that's the word. Yeah, absolutely. So if it's something that is really, as I say, an old pattern or old cycle that keeps coming up and that's shown up in your life a lot, like confidence and self-worth would be huge. I work on that a lot, self-acceptance. If there's a part of you that keeps sabotaging another part, then because we're in conflict. So when there's a part of us that wants to change, but there's a part of us, this unconscious mind is trying to keep us safe, we're in conflict. So if there's any part of you that's in conflict, that's what I say. I would highly, highly suggest hypnotherapy, to delve into it, to see what it is, to understand it, and then to change it.
Brilliant. Okay, excellent. So Sharon, tell me then, I just find this absolutely fascinating, because I think I was saying to you, and what I was listening, what you were saying when, you're going to a hypnotherapist and they're using, your own words essentially that, to kind of heal yourself, which is so important, because I think a lot of people think they can just go and they can get some recordings and stuff on YouTube online and it'll all be free and it'll be fine. But it obviously, it discredits itself, because they go, oh, sure, that didn't work. But the whole reason why that didn't work, from what I'm hearing from what you're saying, is because the therapist needs to guide you by using your own unconscious words, within yourself to actually heal yourself. But you need that guidance, because you wouldn't know to do that. And I think a generic recording, online, you're not going to get that. So that was a massive, massive takeaway for me. Now, have you ever handled like fearful clients who are afraid of maybe losing control under hypnosis? Like, you mentioned earlier on about getting on stage and all of a sudden you're clucking like a chicken, or, you're barking like a dog, or whatever the case is. I think a lot of people get really scared that someone's going to take control of my mind. So if somebody comes to you and says, oh, well, I love meditation because I feel like I'm in control, how do you handle those fearful clients who think that you're going to do something strange under hypnosis?
Yeah, so I just want to comment on the recordings there as well will work, recordings, but the more powerful ones will be the ones that, have so you can have a genetic one,
Okay.
because there's loads of them out there online, but everybody's different. Everybody thinks differently. Like, even just say there, I would have somebody for weight loss. Some people are in kgs, some people work in pounds. So if I'm giving somebody a generic one that says, oh, you're going to lose 3 kg, they're like, no, I'm not, because I'm losing pounds. What are you talking about? So they do work on, and you will see any kind of genetic ones or generic ones anyways are kind of designed that way. They won't say kgs or they won't say pounds, because they know that the conscious critical faculties say, oh no, that's not me. That's not my thought pattern. Okay. So when we're coming in for hypnotherapy and people are fearful because of what they see on stage, they think that I might make them bark like a dog, I just reassure them. And one of the biggest things for the control in hypnotherapy, one of the biggest fearful things for people is that they think they're going to go to sleep and they're not going to wake up. Yes, they think, oh my God, am I going to go to sleep, Sharon? And then, I suppose when we do go into a deep sleep, they feel that they won't be in control and I can do whatever I want then, while they're asleep. So the big thing with hypnotherapy, it's not sleep. And again, some people have a negative attachment to trance as well. Like, that I'll be kind of like a zombie and you can do anything I want. So both of them are not true. Even the people who do be up on stage on shows, they are fully aware, they're fully alert, they can hear they're going with the hypnotist's voice. Hypnotherapy is different then again, because, when I bring them in, I will tell them, you're just going to listen to my voice. You're going to hear every word I say, not every, because sometimes we go in and out, but I said, you're going to hear my voice. You're going to be able to come around anytime you want, straight away. And you will not sleep. You will just go. Now, I did have one person, and you can always work around it. So I do have a person who, again, had a negative experience with actually doing a meditation when somebody was trying to call them, connect to them, and they couldn't hear it because they were doing a meditation. And then the next one, the person barged in the door. Everybody got a fright, So again, afraid kind of, to go that deep in case somebody comes in. So what I just do in that situation then is, because obviously I don't want to bring up anxiety in anybody. So I have the consultation with the person, and then the person leaves, then I record their words. So it has to be their words. I record that person's words, and then I send that person the recording, and that person's having huge success. So as I say, there's nothing to be fearful of. Once you're with the therapist is always going to guide you. And there's absolutely, nothing to be fearful of. And again, sometimes an abreaction comes up with it, and that's, maybe they might cry, or they might, something might come up from the past, but that's okay, because that's showing a release. And I will talk them around it. Sometimes I say, keep going, and then we can clear it. But you would need a qualified hypnotherapist And that's one of the reasons why a qualified hypnotherapist is important, because you can have reactions and you can have stuff that comes up. But if you have an understanding of it, or somebody who knows that actually this is just your unconscious mind, protecting you, it just wanted to protect you in that moment. And now it's allowing it to let go, then you have a total different response. So you're always in control, 110% of the time. You are always in control.
Excellent. That's really good to know. I think it's kind of, a lot of people don't actually realize that they are still in control. So that's brilliant. So, our body works in certain rhythms and in certain ways and that. And would you suggest, is it better to do hypnosis at certain times because of our bodies and our different rhythms and stuff like that? Or do times really matter?
Times don't really matter. But again, I suppose it's that thing of that sleepy state. When the mind is getting ready to relax and it's getting ready to sleep, is probably a better time, again, because you were brought into an induction anyways, you'll be brought into a deepener anyways, so you will bypass the conscious critical faculty. So some people say to me, oh, Sharon, I listened to it at night time, but I didn't hear a word you say. I don't mind. Yeah. For once, I don't mind if somebody falls off, because they won't actually go to sleep until the hypnosis is finished. So they'll go into the trance. They will feel like they're like, oh my God, Sharon, I was asleep. I woke up at 2:00 in the morning. I know that they actually won't go into the sleep state until the session has finished. And then they'll go into a sleep state in a real relaxed, because remember, that sleepy state is again, what we're kind of bringing in throughout our dreams and our night, and what we wake up, what kind of energy we'll wake up in the morning. So if you're going into hypnotherapy to release fears or anxiety, or, especially the children's, I qualified there for pediatric hypnotherapy, and I get them to listen to it about probably 15 minutes before bed. And the change is just huge for them, because in that sleepy state, they don't have this constant worries or fears, or, even for wetting the bed, they're going to bed and they're not wetting the bed, because they are, again, that suggestion is there that I'm dry all night and I'm relaxed and I'm calm and all of these things. So it's huge. Yeah. So anytime. Now, sometimes I'd say if I was working with, let's say it'd be down here, sports athletes, hurlers and stuff like that, I'd suggest before they go on the pitch, that they could do that motivation one before they go out, or maybe in the morning, where they're letting that kind of filter through their day. So it just depends. It depends on kind of, again, probably energetically wise for me, it depends on what comes up, but there is no set time.
Okay.
There's no set time.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people think that there might be certain times that you would have to do it in order for it to take effect, but okay, that's brilliant. So can anyone be hypnotized then?
Anybody can be hypnotized as long as they want to.
As long as they want to. So that's the main thing. As long as they want to. Okay.
Yeah, like even with children. So let's say a parent might come, and this was in our training. So a parent might come and say, Sharon, can you hypnotize my child to eat carrots every day? Just eat carrots every day.
You can do that to my kids, please. They won't want to, though. That's the only thing.
And then I talk to the child and I say, do you want to eat carrots? And if the child says, no, I don't want to eat carrots, then I won't be able to hypnotize that child to eat carrots.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, there's a difference then between people say, oh, well, do you not work with food? There's absolutely different than if they're fearful of food. If they're afraid of eating carrots in case they might choke, or they're afraid of eating carrots from a negative experience, and they might have, again, sensory issues to foods, then that's a different story, because that is then, neurosis, that's something going on inside the mind that's trying to stay in control. So that's different. There's a huge difference between wanting to do it and having something that's stimulated in the background of doing it.
Oh, well, they don't want to do it. Okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So anybody can, as long as you want to.
As long as you want to. Okay. Yeah. That's really good. Yeah. That comes to the whole thing of you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Interesting. Absolutely. Okay. So what are the long-term effects of hypnosis then?
Change. There's only one thing, and it's change. And that's why part therapy is quite powerful, because let's say if somebody came to stop smoking. So if someone came to stop smoking and I just did a regular kind of recording for them and just say, you're not going to smoke anymore because this is what it's disgusting. And, if we don't if we don't change that part, ask that part for change, then that part is still going to be there. So that part is just going to replace it with food, or maybe gambling, or maybe alcohol. Oh, sure, I'll just, I'm not smoking anymore. So look at, and then like, oh, and I'd actually had a client that had happened to stop smoking. And then within a year and a half, they put on 4.5 stone, because they said the minute they came out of the hypnotherapist, for the recording, the minute they came out, they felt like something was missing. So I'm always working on the parts therapy, and I'm saying, anything that we thank you for, keeping this person safe, but we want a new healthy behavior. So then that means that you're not attaching onto food, you're not attaching onto any of these other things, and change happens. As you sleep and as you dream and as you wake up, you change.
Okay.
And that's for me, and that's what I suppose, you know me, and I know you, that I've been searching for and probably driving you cracked half the time. It was that shit. I just wanted something where, people could have the understanding, where they could change, and that I could empower them. Then, I will give majority people how to bring themselves into, a deepener, going to sleep, where that's, changing then. And then anybody who's in the right space, in that space, then they will do the meditations then, as they, for the stability and keeping going then.
Okay.
The relaxation.
So how often then would hypnosis be needed to be effective? So if I was to come to you for a session, do I just come to you for the one session and then walk away with the recorded sessions and continue at home? Or do I come for like kind of top-up sessions? Like how often would I need to do hypnosis? And how often, I suppose, would I need to do hypnosis with you as a therapist and with myself at home?
So it depends. So again, so let's say the junk food one, great success in that one session. Everybody is not eating stuff anymore. Okay. I had a guy there, and now he's 8 weeks. He didn't even eat a birthday cake.
Wow. Okay.
The wife was like, is he not going to eat the birthday cake? And he's like, oh, I'm not eating the birthday cake. So that was changed now. But I do them in 3 sessions. So I always do them in 3 sessions, because, we have our consultation. The first session is about 2 hours. The next session then is about an hour and 15. And the next session then is the same thing, about an hour and 15, an hour and a half. And then we've got change on that situation, on that thing. And I do it in 3, because again, I sometimes, if I feel that, somebody comes in and they're blocked energetically, I'll be releasing energetically. But then also I do the parts therapy. So I always do the parts therapy. And then the following 2 therapies then so the next one then is creating the change, even deeper. And then the last one then is what we would call a mop-up session. So let's see if there's, like, say, if someone comes for weight loss, then I'd say, okay, we'll do the parts therapy, then we'll do whatever weight you want to be, and then we'll do a mop-up session. So let's see, is your self-acceptance high enough there? Is your confidence high enough there? And then if that's an area then that you want to work on, then we will do the mop-up session with that. Then that's where the change then is created. Okay. So, yeah, so 3 sessions, 3 sessions, I'd say the most probably 4. And then that's that issue.
Okay. And then would I do any recordings would I do recordings and that at home in between the sessions as well?
Yeah, sorry. So every time you come, so they're worked probably 2 weeks apart, depending on the severity of the issue. They're usually worked 2 weeks apart, and you will listen to a recording, for the recording that we do on that day. I have it recorded while I'm doing it, and you will listen to that, not that night, but the following night for the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Every evening for the next 2 weeks.
Brilliant. And then we're looking at long-term change. I love that. I absolutely love it, because it is like, it just, to me, it sounds like, hypnosis is just taking everything that, we know within ourselves. It's kind of buried deep, and kind of using our own words with your self-guiding, and just kind of, making that long-term change. And bypassing, I always call it the little monkey on your back that's always kind of like in your ear, bypassing that and kind of, feeding the monkey a few bananas to say, shut up now. we change the monkey's thought process. But that's brilliant, because I think a lot of people who are desperately stuck, and they feel that there's no way out. I think, for me, it's really fascinating what you were saying, because there seems to be a lot of underlying issues that people might not be aware of. And having a session with you or another hypnotherapist is just brilliant, because it'll really bring that to the surface. And like you were saying, like, you know, you're talking about different clients that had different blocks and stuff like that. Like, you don't know if you have a block or not. And I think going to somebody who understands all of these things, like yourself, you know, to say, well, actually, you know, you've got a couple of blocks, we need to release these blocks, I think it's brilliant. And, you know, it is very empowering to the person, because like you said, if people do not want to be hypnotized, they won't be hypnotized, which means, again, it's all about us being in control of us and who we are, but just needing a little bit of a hand up every now and again, you know, to get us to where we want to go and to be our best selves. So I love that. But I know we were talking about kind of the different levels of hypnosis and that, but if you were to say to somebody like, or if you were to explain to somebody, what does hypnosis feel like? What's the best kind of sentence to describe that? Like, what does hypnosis feel like?
Yeah, so that's a I don't know, what would you call $1 million question. So hypnosis doesn't feel like anything.
Okay.
So it's just, it doesn't feel like anything. You know, even the people who are up on stage, you know, it doesn't feel like anything. It's relaxing. It's just relaxing. Some people wake up from the bed and they're like, and they're nearly, and I always tell them not to, you know, so it's when we're expecting to expect something, you know, that I was in a trance and I was nearly floating, or I was zombied out of it, you know. I always tell my client, don't expect anything.
Okay.
Because it's just, because really what I'm doing is, you know, I'm bringing them into, you know, the part that conscious for is the muscle relaxation. So if you know, again, even through meditation, when we're doing a muscle relaxation, everything just starts to relax and relax and relax. So really all we are is relaxing. And people will always say as well, they say, oh, I heard some of the stuff you said and then I didn't hear some of the other. But that's just because they're in that relaxed state. So there isn't any, like, nobody will have a, but as I say, sometimes there's an abreaction, and that's when somebody might, you know, because of their, I mean, we spoke about it earlier, being a secondary gain. So there's always a secondary gain for something that we're really holding on to. But why are we really holding on to it? What's the bigger thing behind it? So sometimes like that, but I would always have, I think it maybe throughout it, I have maybe have an abreaction once, because I always talk through everything before they get up on the bed. And they have an understanding. And this is the huge thing, you know, that just what you were saying there earlier, awareness is key. If we're aware that, like, we, again, obviously the conscious mind will say, oh, this is why you have that, Sharon. Because, oh yeah, this is why, you know, you're afraid of that, or this is why, you know, you're depressed because of this. But if we delve a little bit deeper into it and say, well, actually, you know what, there's a secondary gain to you holding that thought pattern or that old belief. And then say, oh my God, you know. And even in that moment, even for me, you know, even when I was doing energy work, even in that moment, people change. And then the hypnotherapy comes and it just adds that extra, you know, because you're imprinting it. It just has that extra thing. But I believe that people change when they have the awareness of what's going on.
Yeah.
That's like
Well,
all these years I was holding.
And they say it's kind of like, you know, how do you break out of a prison if you don't know you're in one? And I think that's very similar to that. You know, if you don't understand what the underlying or the blocks or the things that you're having, how do you know how to resolve it or have that breakthrough unless you know that you actually have that? So yeah, that's very powerful. That's very, very powerful. So Sharon, tell us a bit. This has been absolutely fascinating, and I've loved chatting with you. So if guys wanted to get hold of you that are listening to this, if they wanted to book in a session with you, if they wanted to find out a bit more about what you do, tell us where do we find you? How can we get hold of Sharon Ledwith?
So I am on Instagram and Facebook with Ledwith Wellness. So it's LEDWITH Wellness. And then my website is ledwithwellness.com.
Okay.
So again, there's a 20-minute discovery call, a free 20-minute discovery call, just to see, are we suited? You know, as I say, you know, there's certain things that, you know, we can't work on, but, you know, we have the chat anyways. If it's something that you feel that you even want some more information on, you know, I have a 20-minute free call there that we can connect and just go through it.
And people can do this online, right? So we can
online, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that's great. That's excellent. Well, Sharon, it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you very, very much for coming on and talking everything about hypnosis and meditation, dear to my heart, loving stepping and being the best version of you that you possibly can be. So thank you very, very much for coming on. Yeah, it was a pleasure. Yeah.
For
Guys,
everything you do.
yes. Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. Well, look, you have been listening to Finding Your Genie, the program that shows you how to reach your goals, manage your emotions, and have the life you want. Again, I'm Jackie Carroll, founder of GIA International, Mind Immersion, which helps you step into the best versions of yourself. Until next time. Ladies and gents, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, got value, and had an aha moment and think this might do the same for someone else, then please do share it with others. Post about it on social media or just leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Genie in a Headset and on Facebook at GIA, GIAH International. And for all my YouTube subscribers, don't forget to hit that bell. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on Finding Your Genie.